Chapter 7 Illinois. Well, looky here, Gramps shouted. The Illinois state line. He pronounced Illinois, exactly the way everyone in Bybanks, Kentucky pronounced it. And hearing that Illinois made me suddenly homesick for Bybanks. What happened to Indiana? Gramps said. Why, you gooseberry, Gramps said. That's where we've been the past 3 hours, barreling through Indiana. You've been listening to the story of Peavy and plumb missed Indiana. Don't you remember Elkhart? We ate lunch in Elkhart. Don't you remember South Bend? You took a pee in South Bend. Why, you missed the entire Hoosier state. You gooseberry. He thought this was very funny. You know how I got called the Hoosier state? He said. No, I do not, Gramps said. I think she was a little angry that she had missed Indiana. Gramps said, whenever you go up to a house here in Indiana, the people inside call out, "Who's there?" All up and down the state, people are calling out, "Who's there? Who's there?" So they be known as Who's Theirs, Hoosiers. Get it, gooseberry? Quit calling me a gooseberry, Gramps said. Of course I get it. Just then the road curved. It actually curved. This was quite a shock. And there, off to the right, was a huge jing-bang mass of water. It was as blue as the bluebells that grow behind the barn in Bybanks. And that water just went on and on. It was all you could see. It looked like a huge, shining pasture of water. Are we at the ocean? Graham asked. We're not supposed to be passing the ocean, are we? You gooseberry, Gramps said. That's Lake Michigan. Then he kissed his finger and put his finger on Graham's cheek. I sure would like to put my feet in that water, Graham said. Gramps swerved across 2 lanes of traffic onto the exit ramp, and faster than you could milk a cow, we were standing barefoot in the cool water of Lake Michigan. The waves splashed up on our clothes, and the seagulls flew in circles overhead, calling in one great chorus, as if they were glad to see us. Huzzah, huzzah, Graham said. She wriggled her heels into the sand. Huzzah, huzzah. Later, we drove just a little further down the road and stopped for the night on the outskirts of Chicago. I looked around at what I could see of Illinois from the Howard Johnson Motel, and it might as well have been 7,000 miles from the lake. It all looked precisely like northern Ohio to me, with its flat land and long, straight cement roads, and I thought what a very long journey this would be. With the dark came the whispers. Rush, hurry, rush. That night, I lay there, trying to imagine Lewiston, Idaho, but my mind would not go forward to a place I had never been. Instead, I kept drifting back to Bybanks. When my mother left for Lewiston, Idaho, that April, my first thoughts were, how could she do that? How could she leave me? When I am a part of her, how could she function without part of her? As the days went on, many things were harder and sadder, but some things were strangely easier. When my mother had been there, I was like a mirror. If she was happy, I was happy. If she was sad, I was sad. For the first few days after she left, I felt numb, non-feeling, and I didn't know how to feel. I would find myself looking around for her to see what I might want to feel. One day, about 2 weeks after she had left, I was standing against the fence watching a newborn calf wobble on its thin legs. It tripped and wobbled and swung its big head in my direction and gave me a sweet, loving look. Oh, I thought, I am happy at this moment in time. I was surprised that I knew this all by myself, without my mother there. And that night, in bed, I did not cry. I said to myself, Salamaka Tree Hiddle, you can be happy without her. It seemed a mean thought, and I was sorry for it, but it felt true. In the motel, as I was remembering these things, Graham came and sat on the edge of my bed. She said, Do you miss your daddy? Do you want to call him? I did miss him, and I did want to call him, but I said, no, I'm fine, really. He might think I was a goose if I had to call him already. Okay then, Chickabiddy, Gram said, and when she leaned over to kiss me, I could smell the baby powder she always used. That smell made me feel sad, but I didn't know why. The next morning, we got lost leaving Chicago. In Chicago, Illinois, a city of freeways that twist all around in a deliberate attempt to get people confused. We went in circles for 2 hours. I prayed and prayed. Please don't let us get in an accident. Please let us get there in time. Gramps said, at least it's a mighty fine day for a drive. When we finally found a road that seemed to be heading west, we took it. It wasn't the one we wanted, but we followed it. We drove halfway across Illinois Way and then found a sign that said, Route 90 North to Wisconsin. We zoomed off the next exit ramp. Get me out of Illinois Way, Gramps said. Our plan was to curve across the lower part of Wisconsin, veer into Minnesota, and then barrel straight on through to Minnesota, South Dakota, and Wyoming, sweep up into Montana, and cross the Rocky Mountains into Idaho. Gramps figured it would take us about a day in each state. He didn't intend to stop too much until we reached South Dakota. He was really looking forward to South Dakota. We're going to see the Badlands, he said. We're going to see the Black Hills. I didn't like the sound of either of those places, but I knew why we were going there. My mother had been there. The bus she took to Lewiston stopped in all the tourist spots. Now we were following along in her footsteps.